Okay, King-Ohger episode 42, The Secrets of King Rcules. Not the special that came out earlier this year. This episode was actually called The Secrets of King Rcules. But this episode I was very hesitant in going into because last week's episode I had very much mixed feelings on because, it was the redemption of Rcules, but I slept on it, I gave it a week, and the episode wasn't that bad. There's still many questions left unsolved, and in this episode a lot of those questions are brought to raise, but there's still another couple of things we need to question, even though that Rcules is on the road to redemption. One of those things is that Rcules says that he chose to become the villain to defeat Dug Deg, but you have to also remember that a lot of actions that Rcules did was on his own accord. So even though he said he was playing the villain, there were some moments in King-Ohger that we saw this year that made Rcules look like a real dickhead. Like, he was open for crushing Yanma's kingdom and crushing Yanma himself when he hired Daigorg. I mean, he was the guy that got Daigorg resurrected and then took Daigorg on a big smashing spree. But that's a story for another day. I'm sure that Rcules' story is not over yet, and there's a couple of things that need to go explained that are left unexplained, like Gira's past and his past and stuff like that. Like, why did Gira go missing? Because that's like the big mystery. And I'm guessing we're going to find out that next year in the next episode, because there's no Super Sentai or Kamen Rider next week. It's on break because of the New Year's. So with this review, I took some notes as I was watching it, and then I stopped taking notes because I just got caught up in the episode. So we have this flashback that takes place 17 years ago in the past, and we find out that Dug Deg killed Rcules' parents along with everyone else's, possibly due to the fury of the gods, because you see all the cicada floating around the kingdom. But he also mentions that he wants Rcules to wipe out the Bugnarok. So this is the thing with Dug Deg. He just wants, like, the people of Terra and the Bugnarok to just kill each other. He's sort of doing that episode of South Park where Earth is a reality show to him and he just wants people to wipe each other out for his own entertainment. But also in this episode, like I mentioned earlier, that Rcules comes to the decision that he wants to become the villain so he can plan the defeat of Dug Deg. Again, Rcules chose to be the villain himself, but most of the things he's done throughout the show doesn't excuse most of his actions, although this episode does set him on the road of redemption where he says that everything he did for Gira because he wanted Gira to be stronger, and he knew that Gira was the only one who could defeat Dug Deg in the end. So he also mentions that he was very surprised when Gira first showed up, and one of the things I did get a kick out of in this episode is we see flashbacks all the way back to episode 1 of King-Ohger, which is a nice little touch in the end, because this is the last episode we're getting of the year for King-Ohger, but then we see the first episode we got at the start of the year for King-Ohger, so everything comes in full circle. So there's some things we also see in this episode, like Rcules faking his death in this episode. We sort of get some insight behind that, and he did go on to say that he did want to defeat Gira, but he also knew that he had to expose the mole or the spy that was spying on his kingdom. And then, like he says, things just fell into place in the end with that whole battle, and that got him exposed in the end. But this episode, I still have mixed feelings about with Rcules. Yeah, he's a dickhead. Yeah, he got redeemed and he did look really cool doing it. But he was still an arsehole at the end of the day. But this episode does tug at the heartstrings when it comes to brotherly love between the two characters of Gira and Rcules, as they still love each other in the end. They still have that brotherly bond and they still care about each other in the end. And Rcules wasn't a big meanie face the whole time, but this episode did have some really cool fight scenes in it, because we did get to see Rcules and Gira teaming up to fight Dug Deg in the end, and we get some really cool fight scenes at the quarry between the two. We get some really cool special effects here, one of them being Dug Deg doing the death ball from Dragon Ball Z that Frieza does, where he just creates a giant meteor, and he launches it at our heroes, and Gira is able to withstand it, so that's why he's an immortal, so he can take a ton of damage. And Gira being an immortal might actually make sense for a lot of things in the end, because, you know, he's managed to take all these hits and just keep on walking and getting up in the end. Like, he was still walking after everyone got struck by lightning, so there's some things that doesn't phase Gira when it comes to getting hit. So, a lot of people were banking on the death of Rcules in this episode. I was banking on the death of Rcules in this episode as well, but no, he doesn't die in the end. He lives. He survives because the other King-Ohgers come in at the end of the episode and they decide they're going to save Rcules, which was kind of out of left field because, you know, Rcules has been a dick to you guys too, but you're going to save him. But as Rita does say in this episode, it's their job to help the people who are in trouble. But when they're sort of helping Rcules, there was a moment that did make me giggle, and that was Jeremy when he used his web ability, because he did like the Spider-Man quip in the end, and he actually did the Spider-Man quip. If you look at the pose and compare how Spider-Man does his web quip, and how Jeremy does his, it's the exact same finger pose, and that definitely got a laugh out of me. But the others are going to help him, like Yama says we've got some like artificial organs we've been creating, we can use him as a guinea pig, and then Dabowski wants to keep him alive so he can repay his debt to each other, because, you know, those two are sort of helping each other out, so we kind of see the back and forth between them. But this episode, I'm still mixed on the Rcules redemption, but it's not as bad as I thought it could be, because there's more to this story that we need to learn about Gira and Rcules' past, because we only saw a little bit of their childhood and their flashback. But like I said, even though Rcules has been redeemed, his actions aren't fully excused, even though Rcules does admit that he is an arsehole and he's a coward and stuff like that, and he's a horrible person. I feel like even though he's going to get put on trial for next episode and possibly sentenced to death from what the preview is teasing, there's still some things that are left unanswered, and there's still some things that he needs to atone for. And hopefully we get those answers later down the line. But this episode of King-Ohger, I felt like it was pretty good. We got to see Rcules and Gira team up, which was a really cool fight scene in the end between the two of them. I really enjoyed this team up between the two brothers. Like I said, we got to see some really cool fight scenes between the two of them. And Gira just going ham on Doug Deg, where we had the moment where Rcules is holding him and Gira just opens up a can of whoop-ass on him and starts swinging his sword. It was really cool to see in this episode, like really cool to see. Now, one thing I forgot to bring up in this review, and if I didn't bring it up, you guys will probably remind me that I did not bring this up, but Doug Deg, he's defeated in this episode. He gets killed and blown up, and there's a large explosion that he becomes when Gira and Rcules deliver the finishing blow to him. So, the big question on everyone's mind, is this the end of Doug Dead? As he could be dead, he could not be dead. That's hard to say right now. I think he's alive, he could be coming back, but that explosion probably speaks volumes if we might see him again or not, because when he's destroyed you do see this giant emblem behind him, or he becomes this giant emblem in the explosion when he's defeated, so he may or may not be dead, because you got to remember there was other things that he was setting up a couple of episodes ago with Mothman, and there was something mysterious going on inside his belly, so who knows if Doug Dead is actually gone for good or not, or he's able to regenerate. I know that Rcules asked for the power to defeat an immortal and become an immortal slayer, but he could be alive. I don't think this is the end of Doug Dead, and there's either another final boss lurking about when it comes to these space kings and space bugs, or something else is out there. So, or like I said, something else is out there, or Doug Dead is going to come back and he's going to have some kind of super duper ultimate final form. It's hard to say at this point, but place your monies on Doug Dead being dead or not in King-Ohger. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. But yeah, that was King-Ohger episode 42. I thought I would have mixed feelings going into it. Like I mentioned, Rcules, He was still a douchebag before, but we'll see where he goes from the road of redemption from here, moving forward, because he still has some important lore that he needs to tell the characters, so I'm guessing that's why they're keeping him alive for now. So he could die again, or could die for reals this time. You never know, but we'll have to wait and find out moving forward. But overall, this was a pretty solid episode, some pretty good fight scenes in this episode, and the actor who plays Rcules is really freaking good. I will say that. He puts on a really good performance, and it was good to see him show some really great emotion in this episode and work off Gira's actor as they did some team-up work together. But what did you guys think of King-Ohger episode 42? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Tell me in the comment section down below. And with that said, that is the last King-Ohger review of 2023. I will see you guys in 2024 for the next King-Ohger review as we get closer and closer to the finale of this show. So with that said, I'll see you guys later. Leave a comment down below, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out, take care, bye.